Hey everyone, Sky here to discuss Grindhouse. Well, let's start with Planet Terror since that's the first one in front. Starring Rose McGowan, Freddie Rodriguez, Michael Biehn, Jeff Fahey, Josh Brolin, and Marley Shelton, and directed, for right now I'm doing Planet Terror by Robert Rodriguez. Now, I remember going to movie theaters for both of the Grindhouse stuff, and let me just say, it was a long experience, sure. But which one did I like better? Well, let's get into it. We start the experience off with a trailer of Machete, starring Danny Trejo, which was a movie, by the way, and I might do that after Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And this one I thought was a good trailer for a movie I'll maybe try to do next month. So I hope it's... I don't remember the movies very well, but let's just see how they go when we get to the end of this Tarantino series. We open Planet Terror with Cherry, played by Rose McGowan, doing the sexiest dance I've seen. Then her boss has a cow with Cherry about how crying as she quits the go-go dance club, and she runs into a group of military Mexican men led by Moldone, played by Bruce Willis, who gets men's balls and collects them in a jar. And I thought, what the fuck? Because his face looks boiled like a zombie. And Robert Rodriguez does a pretty damn good job at making me feel afraid for my body parts. Ugh, I don't want to think about that right now. Cherry runs into Ray, played by Freddie Rodriguez, at a barbecue restaurant in Texas, until Cherry asks Ray for a ride, and they have very good chemistry together. Dr. William and Dr. Dakota Block, played by Josh Brolin and Marley Shelton, as both doctors and husband and wife that are needing a divorce desperately. And my problem with these characters is I don't relate to them at all. And Dakota is very annoying in this movie. Ray and Cherry get into an accident, and Sheriff Haug, played by Michael Biehn, from a movie I'll get to later this year called, and takes Ray in for questioning. And I like Michael Biehn in general, and his character is a fun presence here. William gets attacked by a patient of his named Joe with a saw, and I found it kind of funny when it unplugs and Joe puts off some slimy goo on his face, and the hospital gets attacked by zombies, and Ray gets to Cherry and she tells him she has no leg, and he puts a piece of wood in her leg, which was interesting in an iconic kind of way. Dakota leaves William at the hospital and as a husband, and takes their son Tony out of the house and stops by a friend's place and shoots himself, which, what a stupid kid, because she gives him the gun. And what a terrible mother anyways as well. And I don't like this family at that point. Cherry and Ray have sex, and next thing you know, we move on to the restaurant being on fire because there was a reel missing. And everyone is at the restaurant and they're firing guns, which was kind of funny, but our heroes go on the motorcycle car chase against the zombies, and they run into Muldoon and take our heroes to the military base to get trapped and raped and tortured by Mr. Tarantino. Which, what a great cameo by Mr. Tarantino, by the way. And I love how he asks her to dance, and Cherry pokes his eye out, like his eyeball, like this. And kills Mr. Tarantino off with Dakota, and Cherry breaks her stick, and Ray gives her a new leg that's a gun, and that's the iconic thing about this movie. And it's beyond amazing. Ray gets shot by a zombie, and Cherry tries to keep him alive, which I do love, but what I didn't like was how Dakota's father shoots William's ass as he becomes a zombie. It just wasn't rightfully earned. Cherry and the others go to their own way and after Ray dies, and she kills zombies while on a horse, and she has a BB girl, which was a very nice ending in my general opinion. Now it's time for the rating. I'll give this movie a 6.0 out of 10. There's problems with this segment, sure, but I enjoyed myself with all the zombie reaction, and Robert Rodriguez does a great job while protecting my own goddamn body. So, I'll be right back after these messages. I will be talking about Death Proof now, starring Kurt Russell, Rosario Dawson, Vanessa Ferlito, Jordan Ladd, Rose McGowan, Sidney Poitier, not the famous guy, but his daughter, I'll talk about it, Tracy Thomas, Mary Elizabeth Winstead, and Zoe Bell, and directed by Quentin Tarantino. Now, let's see how I feel about this version, shall we? The trailers in front of this one is rather hysterical. For example, werewolf women in the SS set place, in World War II in Hitler's time, with Nicolas Cage overreacting at the end of the trailer, and it's directed by Rob Zombie, which did kind of made it fucking random. Because I don't like Rob Zombie's movies. I like his music, but not his movies. You go back to my Halloween reviews, and you'll see what I mean. The funniest trailer is Don't by Edgar Wright. And I talked about his movies before. As it tells you not to do anything. It cracked me up every single fucking time he said, don't. That was the hilarious one. Thanksgiving was kind of weird because it takes place on Thanksgiving, and it's Eli Roth directing that one, who does weird movies like... And this trailer was my least favorite. That would be on the bottom of my list, but my favorite one is Don't by Edgar Wright, because this one is hilarious in my opinion. We open this one off with Jungle Julia, played by Sidney Poitier. Not the Oscar-winning actor, but his daughter, who's apparently an actress, with her friend Shauna, played by Jordan Ladd, and Molly, played by Marcy Harriel, going to a bar, and who's following them around? Stuntman Mike, played by Kurt Russell, and this movie is completely dialogue and not too much action going on, which is Mr. Tarantino at best, but unfortunately it slows his segment way down, that I'm getting bored. At one point, Mr. Tarantino makes a cameo as Warren at the bar, and the girls go to and his guests are Dov, played by Eli Roth, who I can't wait to talk more about in this movie next week. And Omar, played by Michael Bacall, who wrote the two Jump Street films, as they stare at Stuntman Mike, who's a movie stuntman, and stares and gives a woman a ride home of her death later on. But these scenes are what kicked the movie to gear, sort of. Then Stuntman Mike kills all the bitches up, and that was fucking graphic. Like, first he kills Blondie up, and now he kills the other bitches up. The rest of the movie follows Zoe Bell, who's a stunt woman in real life and in other movies too. Abernathy, played by Rosario Dawson. Kim, played by Tracy Thoms. And Lee, played by Mary Elizabeth Winstead. And these girls are much more interesting than the girls at the beginning. And I'm liking these characters much better. They get a stuntman car, and for the price of keeping an eye on Lee while Stuntman Mike is following them, which is fucking creepy, and they talk about pulling off a stunt in America, and I like they talk Abernathy into doing the stunt with them as they leave Lee behind with Jasper, and they never bring them back, and they never bring them back into the movie. That's the failure of Mr. Tarantino I've never seen him before. Zoe pulls off a crazy stupid stunt, which does look kind of fun unless you get killed. So please don't try that stunt at home, kids. But I like the stunt anyways. Stuntman Mike crashes their car but doesn't kill them, but to fuck with them. Until Kim shoots his arm and Zoe survives. Abernathy, Kim, and Zoe decide to get back Stuntman Mike for what he did. That lunatic motherfucker. And bumps his ass. And at one point he thinks they lost him. But they crash him over and beat the living motherfucking shit out of him. While Abernathy squishes his head. And that was kind of a fun ending in my opinion. Now it's time to rate this one. I'll give this one a 5.8 out of 10. This segment is the weakest Mr. Tarantino directed, not as bad as Kill Bill Volume 2, but not quite as good as Planet Terror. And I like the dialogue, but not as well as his other movies. Now, let's rate the Grindhouse experience. I'll give these two movies together a 6.4 out of 10. I had a good but not a great time with the experience, and I do like the fact they shot all this on film, and you can see it, and I had a good time with the retro of it, but the movies are good, not great, so give this at least one try. So I'd like to thank you guys for joining me, and next week I will be back with the Inglorious Bastards. And until then, and action.